I have exited Discovery. I'm a free agent. What?
Hello? I'm trying to reach Dennis, please. My name is Richard Rawlings. I'm with Gas Monkey Garage. That is great. My name's Richard Rawlings. I own Gas Monkey Garage down in Dallas, Texas. Seems as though a Dennis filled out an application, or Dennis filled out an entry for Bad to the Chrome sweepstakes with Haviland Motor Oil.
After years of rumors, Richard Rawlings is finally revealing the truth. The Fast and Loud star has a secret that explains everything. Why his marriages fell apart, why he sold his car collection, and why Discovery cancelled his show. Now, at 55, he's opening up about the $6 million legal battle that nearly destroyed him. And believe it or not, it's worse than anyone thought. Born on March 30, 1969, in Fort Worth, Texas, Richard's passion for cars started early. Before TV fame, he was already obsessed with vehicles. A childhood photo shows him grinning inside a pedal-powered Volkswagen Beetle, hinting at what was to come. While other kids watched cartoons, Richard was riding shotgun with his dad, delivering newspapers at 3 a.m., and taking note of every car he saw. By the time he was 14, he wasn't just dreaming of owning a car, he was buying one. In 1983, Richard spent his savings from newspaper routes on a green 1974 Mercury Comet. Though he couldn't legally drive it, that car became his statement. At school, he made a name for himself burning rubber in the parking lot, and classmates still talk about that iconic ride. Things escalated quickly for Richard. By his senior year in 1987, he was on his third car, a black 1977 Bandit Trans Am, just like the one from Smokey and the Bandit. At Eastern Hills High, he wasn't just a car guy, he was the car guy. But it wasn't just about showing off, he was flipping cars too. Buying, fixing, and selling, Richard treated them like investments. By graduation, he'd already flipped 20 vehicles, earning more than most teens with part-time jobs. His instinct for finding deals and making them profitable became the blueprint for everything he built later. Then, in the early 90s, at 22, Richard was in a life-altering moment. Driving a 1965 Ford Mustang 2+2 fastback in a rough part of Fort Worth, carjackers tried to pull him out. He fought back, but a bullet tore through his shoulder and traveled down his arm. Miraculously, he survived, and instead of walking away, he dove deeper into the car world. Between 1988 and 1990, Richard held 3 different jobs: police officer, firefighter, and paramedic, all before turning 21. His dad had always advised him to get a stable job with benefits, but Richard's path took a turn in 1988 when a random encounter led him to the North Texas Police Academy. After serving as a cop and firefighter, Richard realized he needed a bigger change. At 25, he sold everything, bought a Jeep, and headed to California. 6 months later, he was back in Texas, broke, covered in tattoos, pierced, and without the Jeep, which had been repossessed. He was crashing on his sister's couch. That low point didn't break Richard, it sharpened his focus. He knew that if he was going to climb back up, he had to build something of his own. In 1999, he launched Lincoln Press, a printing and advertising company in Dallas. Despite lacking experience in printing, he had a sharp eye for branding and an instinct for what would catch attention. After securing a $100,000 loan, Lincoln Press took off. By 2004, he made a bold move, offering a brand new Lamborghini Gallardo to the first client who spent $1 million. It worked, and the company thrived. He sold Lincoln Press, not because it failed, but because it funded his next dream. In 2002, Rawlings opened Gas Monkey Garage in Dallas. The garage was small, lacked air conditioning, and had barely any tools, but Rawlings had something more important: belief. He hit the road with his team, attending car shows and events nationwide, chasing success. Then, in 2007, he aimed for something even bigger: a legend. The Cannonball Run record, held since 1979, was still unbeaten. Rawlings and his friend Dennis Collins decided to break it. On May 12, 2007, they set off in a modified Ferrari 550 Maranello, leaving Manhattan under the cover of night. They arrived in Redondo Beach 31 hours and 59 minutes later, breaking the 28-year-old record at an average speed of 87.6 miles per hour over 2,811 miles. At first, skeptics questioned the feat, but the buzz was undeniable. And that buzz caught the attention of Jay Leno. For Rawlings, this wasn't just a headline, it was validation from the top of the car world. Leno's recognition, years before Fast and Loud, gave Rawlings the credibility he desperately needed. Between 2002 and 2012, building Gas Monkey was a grind. Rawlings poured everything into it, battling just to keep the lights on. Every project was a gamble, and every client had to be earned the hard way. But during this time, Richard Rawlings was pitching something bigger, a show. He didn't just want to build cars. He wanted to tell stories that weren't just for gearheads but for anyone who loved a good transformation and a fast car. But for years, no network was interested. So, Richard doubled down. He kept hitting the road, showing up at every car meet, event, and handshake opportunity. He built a brand, one fan at a time. By the time Fast and Loud debuted in 2012, Gas Monkey Garage had already built a name. When the show premiered on June 6, 2012, no one could have predicted how big it would get. What started in a rundown Dallas garage soon had the world's attention. Richard Rawlings went from local entrepreneur to international icon overnight. The show was translated into 13 languages and aired in over 200 countries, turning a niche garage into a global brand. The success of Fast and Loud wasn't just about the cars, it was about the story behind them. Richard and his crew weren't just building cars, they were rescuing forgotten machines and giving them new life. The show wasn't filled with over-the-top drama, it was about fun, energy, and accessibility. The real turning point came when Richard took that momentum and expanded beyond TV, launching Gas Monkey branded restaurants, clothing lines, energy drinks, tequila, and more. By 2020, Rawlings had created an empire. Even after Fast and Loud ended in 2020, the brand was stronger than ever. At the heart of his success was his cash money formula: buying smart, selling smarter, and acting fast. Richard crisscrossed the country looking for classic cars in rough shape, ready to make deals on the spot with stacks of cash. His speed and negotiation skills were key to building his empire. "You can always buy a $10,000 car for $5,000 if you've got it in your pocket," Richard Rawlings once said. It wasn't just a soundbite, it was his game plan, and it worked. One standout example: he bought a Dodge Challenger for $40,000, poured $77,000 into restoring it, and sold it for $150,000, making a $73,000 profit. This wasn't luck, it was precision. Sharp instincts, disciplined spending, and a clear sense of what buyers wanted. Richard wasn't afraid of risk. He often bought cars other flippers wouldn't touch, rusted frames, major damage, or abandoned relics, and turned them into gold. One memorable gamble involved a high-end supercar with serious mechanical issues, which Gas Monkey fixed and flipped for a profit. This high-stakes approach became part of Fast and Loud's DNA. The show wasn't just about cars, it was about the risks and rewards of restoration. Each vehicle had its own story, and the challenges, failures, and successes made it relatable. The unpredictability kept fans hooked. From 2012 to 2020, Fast and Loud became one of Discovery Channel's most successful shows. By season 4, the stakes were higher, tight deadlines, last-minute saves, and the constant pressure to get the job done. Then, in 2020, Rawlings made a bold move. On the Joe Rogan Experience, he announced he was done with Discovery, citing a need for creative control. Walking away from a hit show was a risk, but it opened up new opportunities, including YouTube and fresh media ventures. Rawlings' success wasn't limited to cars. In 2013, he opened the Gas Monkey Bar and Grill in Dallas, a music venue, restaurant, and branded experience all in one. It quickly became a hub for locals and visitors, with live shows like the Old 97s performing before the official launch. By 2014, he expanded with a second location at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. Though his career soared, Rawlings' personal life was more complicated. His first marriage to Karen K. Grames in 1993 ended in divorce after less than a year, a reminder of the personal sacrifices behind his success. Richard Rawlings' second marriage, to Suzanne Marie Mergel in 1999, coincided with the success of his expanding business. However, after 10 years of marriage, the pressures of his career led to a divorce in 2009. They remarried in 2015, hoping for a fresh start, but by March 2019, they separated again. Rawlings confirmed the split after it was reported by TMZ, describing their parting as mutual, though still amicable. Suzanne received a $300,000 settlement and kept her Mercedes SL 450 Roadster. Despite their breakup, Rawlings spoke kindly of their time together. Soon after, Rawlings began dating Katerina Deason, a former billionaire's wife. Their relationship progressed quickly, with Rawlings proposing in August 2019 at Beetaloo Resort. They were married in a small ceremony in June 2020 in Key West, Florida, after plans for a larger wedding in Greece were disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Katerina transitioned from a life of wealth to becoming a prominent part of Rawlings' public life. Despite these legal battles, Rawlings continued to push forward with new ventures. In 2020, he launched the Monkey Trap podcast, sharing behind-the-scenes stories from his life and interviewing various guests. He also shifted his focus from beer budget cars to high-end European cars, including Ferraris and Lamborghinis. In 2023, Rawlings auctioned nearly 30 vehicles from his personal collection, making over $1 million in sales. He invested over $1 million in acquiring vintage cars, including 5 Ferrari Testarossas, one of which was converted into an electric vehicle. As of early 2024, Rawlings' story continues to evolve, solidifying his place as a major figure in both the car world and business, with a growing presence in high-end automotive and media ventures.